Hello, guys. Welcome back to Adulting But Not Really with your host, Lucia Medina. I'm afraid that the audio is far too high. I've been noticing that my audio has been really low. I'm gonna go and talk from here, but I think I fixed it and I think it's fixed. Today's topic is centered around living abroad. It's centered around moving abroad. It's centered around having a sense of home and then eventually into like being culturally conscious and what it means to be culturally conscious. I think something that by the way, yes, I have like my little cute pillow here. Something that I've developed a lot in just the way that I've been thinking and reflecting about life lately, because it is the second summer in a row that I'm not home most of the summer, because what even is home anymore. I keep moving in and out of home, and today I had an epiphany. I was in computer science class and I actually started being sad because I actually got homesick for a little bit, which is not normal because what even is being homesick for me? And then I started being homesick about Canarias, and I haven't been homesick about Canarias since like 2018, because I go to Canarias most of the time, but Canarias was never, it's so sad, but because most of my friends and most of my family, not most of my family, like my closest family and my friends were in Miami, it felt like Miami was home, so I never really got like homesick of Canarias. I just missed maybe like the climate or maybe something specific, but it never was like, oh, I'm homesick about Canarias. And then this is the first time that I was like, wait, no, I am homesick about Canarias, like this, and I'm not homesick about Miami. Like, I'm actually dreading going to Miami, but that's a whole conversation in itself. But yeah, so I had a little epiphany about what it means to be home and what home means, and my entire journey of like constantly moving and constantly living abroad or constantly living in a different city, constantly being by myself and being independent, and what that means and all of that. So that's definitely been a journey for me, and I thought it would be a really interesting episode to talk about. So little context, I keep saying this in every episode, but you really do need the context to understand what's going on. So I moved at 18 years old to London. I'm currently about to turn 20, and I've been living in London for a little bit, but during the summer, last summer I lived in Madrid. This summer I'm living in Boston for a little bit, and it looks like I'm going to be hopping around Spain. I haven't fully decided yet. It all depends on like my citizenship process, but I haven't fully decided what I'm going to do. Definitely Barcelona for a little bit, definitely Canarias for a little bit. I do want to do Madrid, but if I go to Madrid, it'll be just for visiting. And I think I'm just going to be visiting some friends around Europe while I do some remote work. So it looks like I'm just going to be a digital nomad after Boston. Because nothing really is tying me down to Barcelona. My first instinct was like, let's go to Barcelona for like 2 months and live there. But then I was like, wait, no, nothing's really tying me down. So what if I just travel around Barcelona? Not Barcelona, like Spain. And I have some friends that are working in Ibiza for the summer, so I might go stay with them for a couple days. And then I have some friends that are going to Costa Brava in August, and that's my birthday, so that would be really fun to spend my birthday there. And then I have some friends in Italy, and then I have some friends in Madrid, and then I have some friends in Sevilla. So I think I might just like hop around everywhere and just like stay with friends and work remotely. And yeah, so that, join along for the ride. That might be what's gonna happen after Boston. Things might backfire and I might have to stay in the US for the rest of the summer because of some citizenship papers, but hopefully everything works out. Everything happens for a reason. So if that doesn't happen, that's because it wasn't meant to happen, and I was meant to grow and heal my relationship with Miami. So maybe that is in the works. Maybe that is something that, don't know it's gonna come, but it is gonna come. So my mindset has completely shifted about moving abroad and what it means to move abroad. I think it is a necessity, honestly, at some point in your life, even if it's just for a couple months, even if it's for a couple weeks, even if it's for a year. I definitely think it changes your mindset so much. And nowadays we live in a globalization cannot be stopped. Like, you're definitely gonna, through social media, through YouTube, through Netflix, through everything, like you just get exposed to everything and everyone. And I think especially nowadays in a working environment, you need to be able to adapt to different working styles, different way of thinking, different mindset, different cultures. And I think it's definitely a necessity, not just for personal growth, but also for like career growth or I mean, you're on this earth once in your life. Why not take advantage of it? And why not make it the best you can? That's just my take on it. Anyways, that's just my take on it. I have different bullet points that I want to cover. So I have cultural differences, climate change. By climate change, not only do I mean like actually like climate change, but I mean like coming from warm climate to a cold climate and being able to adapt to that, and how to shift your mentality. How to shift your mentality towards that, because that did affect me mentally like the first year, because it's my first time experiencing the winter, and that was like, holy shit, what is this? I did not know how to dress for this. I don't know how to do this. So there's definitely a challenge that you need to overcome with that. Then also daily challenges and different lifestyles that also comes with the climate. So like different lifestyles in the different places that you move into, and how to embrace it, and how to look for everything in a positive mindset, and embrace the cultural diversity, embrace your different set of environment, embrace that everything has changed. Embracing change. I made a whole episode about this. It's really important. Embracing change is really, really important and vital in life. And I think that is one of the best skills you could ever get in life, because life is constant change. I think it's supposed to be like that. If there's no change, then you're not growing, you're not evolving, you're not really doing much. I don't know if that's a little bit harsh, but I do think change is vital, and accepting change and actually wanting it, it's a huge skill that everybody should develop in life. So there's that. And then my other bullet point is social integration. So obviously again with the whole cultural thing again, and just little tips and tricks on how to engage socially in a new setting, a new city, in a new country, that I think is something that most of my friends actually ask me about when it comes to moving to a new city or going somewhere new to work because of a work opportunity or a master's opportunity. That's like the first worry that I hear. It's like, how am I going to make friends in a new city without that I don't know anyone in? So that's something that I want to go in upon. So to the bullet point, cultural differences. So basically, let's try to define. So what is being culturally aware and culturally conscious? So I actually searched up the definition because I wanted to give like a specific definition of what it is. So being culture aware and conscious is basically being aware of one's own culturally shaped values, beliefs, perception, and biases, and then observing one's reaction to people whose culture differ from one's own, and reflecting upon those responses and trying to have meaningful interactions with those people. I've actually been, it's not a book, it's more of like a journal. It's called You Are a World Citizen. No, You Are a Global Citizen. It's called You Are a Global Citizen. And it basically asks you all these questions for self-reflection. And they have different chapters with different self-reflection points. And one of the chapters, actually like a huge component of it, was, at first I was like, why are they asking me all these questions? Like, why is this relevant? I thought this was about being like globally conscious. And then I was like, wait, no, like that is the first step to being globally conscious. There were so many questions about my hometown, so many questions on how I view my hometown, on how I would react if suddenly everyone moved away, suddenly I had to go back to my hometown forever and I couldn't leave. There were so many different questions, like reflecting my own personal relation to my own culture. And then I really had to think about it. It's like, what is my culture? Like, is it more American? Is it more Spanish? How would I react if suddenly my parents were like, oh, we're gonna stay in Miami and you have to come for the rest of your life? Or if my grandparents are like, you have to come back to Canada for the rest of your life? How would I react to those different situations? And what is my own personal relationship with that? And also, what is my own personal relationship with Spain and the US? And I think that is such a good exercise and good reflection to have within yourself, like because I'm a person that loves to learn about other cultures. I'm a person that loves to be around culturally diverse groups and goes to go to new countries and learn so much. Like oh my god, I had like my brain got so ticked. It was not even like a phrase, but I was having the time of my life in Italy because I kept learning so many new stuff. I kept going to so many like new places. Like I just love going to new places and learning new things. I was with people who were from Italy and they were just explaining to me so much about it. I just got so happy the entire trip because I kept learning new things and new traditions, new foods, and so much culture that I wasn't aware of before. And I had forgotten about how special it is to have my own culture. Like I realized one of the questions was to research your own hometown's history, and I researched so much history about Playa del Hombre, which is like my like beach town in the Canary Islands, which is already like really small island. And I found out about San Mao, which was a Chinese writer that was literally my neighbor, and I grew up looking at all these Chinese tourists that came over to my little beach town that wasn't even like a huge beach town in the island. I was like, why are these all these Chinese tourists? Finds out, like, I'm 19 years old. At 19 years old, I find out that it was like a famous Chinese writer. It was like a world traveler, and she lived in like South Africa for a long time, and then she moved to the Canary Islands in her 30s, in the 70s, and then she moved to Cadiz, and then she just kept traveling the world. At some point, she also lived in the US, in California, and apparently, like, literally the house right next to my house in the Canary Islands was like where she lived in the Canary Islands, and she wrote about that little town in like a lot of her books about living in the Canary Islands. And apparently there's rocks in Telde, which is like the little municipio, like the little town. It's like the little town in that island, and apparently there's rocks that are painted red to represent the Chinese color of good luck, and it's because of her. And I didn't know all of this until that book made me research my own hometown's history, and I realized how beautiful that is. And then I researched about my own Dia de Canarias and about like the history of the islands, and then I researched about Miami too. Miami, the history, I mean, the US is a fairly new country, but the history of Miami was just like a bunch of billionaires that were trading on and off Key Biscayne. And then there was a military compound, and then somehow another, like the Mashta family bought it at some point, and then it went down to Miami-Dade's county's hands, and then eventually it is kind of run by millionaires now, but not really. It's complicated, but it just wasn't as rich of a history as Ghana is. But I still had to embrace it and be like, this is such a beautiful history too, you know? Like there's beauty in everything. But I think the first step to being culturally conscious is to learn about your own hometowns or home country, home cities story, and embracing it, and embracing your own cultural embracing your own culture, and then basing off of that, being open-minded about other people's culture, and being open-minded about the fact that not one culture is better or worse. Because if there's something that has the Spaniard I grew up with is, and in the US too, in the US there's so many people that are like, America's the best country ever. Same thing in Spain. In Spain there's so many Spaniards that I know that they're like, there's nothing like Spain. Look, do I low-key think Spain is better than the US? Maybe, but that is debatable, because there's certain things about Spain that I love, and there's certain things about the US that I love, and there are pros and cons in every single country. Are the pros higher in Spain in my own personal perspective and my own personal gains and wants? Yes, but that is because it's based on what I want to get out of life. Something that I also found really interesting about the culturally conscious book that I'm reading is that it asks, like, what are the countries that you were pushed to visit or encouraged to visit in your hometown? And I found really interesting how in the US nobody ever talks about Morocco, nobody ever talks about Africa, nobody ever talks about Arab countries, because it's not really encouraged for you to travel to those places because of the whole relationship with the US with those places. But then in Spain, everyone just goes to Morocco. And I've been to Morocco. When I was in Spain, I like went with a travel agency for like people in their 20s to go to Morocco in a group together, and it was so much fun. One of my favorite trips I've ever done, and I really want to go back to Morocco. But for example, living in London, there's a lot of Arabs and a lot of people from Saudi and Dubai and all these places, and Qatar. And now I'm exposed to going to all these places, and now I'm like, no, that is literally on my bucket list of like places that I want to go to, places that I want to live in, places that I want to explore. And I feel like in the US it's not really pushed. It's kind of seen as a extreme luxury, or you have a lot of money if you go to Dubai, and it's like, no, it's really not that. It's not the cheapest place to go to from the US, but it's definitely not super complicated to get there. And I think it should be more of an open mind to go to all these Arab countries, especially Morocco. Morocco is not that intense to go to, but I feel like it was pushed more in Spain than I've ever heard in the US for you to go to those places. And yeah, I know, it's so interesting. In the US, for example, nobody knows where the Canary Islands are because it's not really on the map within Spain of like places, an ideal place for you to go visit in Spain has like a person in the US, because it's so close to Africa, I feel like, and it's just not really as close to Spain. But in Europe, everybody knows where the Canary Islands are, because that is like a vacation place that they go to. So it's really interesting seeing how culturally we are pushed to go and not go to all these locations in all these countries based on their relationship within our own country and crashes between cultures. So I don't know, food for thought. Maybe you realize that you haven't really been encouraged to fly and visit some places based on your environment, and maybe that is keeping a close mindset about life and what you should and should not be doing. I don't know, just food for thought. It's a very interesting topic. But yeah, so that's that. Skipping over the whole culture conscious moment there. But it is a huge factor to it, because if you are going to be living abroad, especially in multicultural cities like London, you have to be open-minded about it. Because if there's one thing that I keep preaching about here, is that in London, you barely actually meet British people. There's a lot of Italians, a lot of French, a lot of Germans, a lot of Arabs. Like, you have to be culturally open to meeting people from everywhere and embracing their culture and learning about their culture and actually being interested in being open-minded. And yeah, I actually don't know that many people that live with someone from their own country in London. Like, a lot of my friends that have flatmates in London don't live with someone that came from their country. My roommate was from Palestine. She wasn't from Spain or the US. And we were both very open-minded about learning about each other's culture. She would be cooking food for me, typical from Palestine, and I would be open to like having it. And she would be open to having some Spanish red wine, tinto de verano, that I would make at home. So it's so fun to live with someone from another country, because you get to learn so much about somebody else's culture. But yeah, so there's that. When it comes to climate change, I do think I had to touch upon this topic because I am from two warm climates. I'm from the Canary Islands and from Miami, and I feel like those are very, very hot and warm climates, and compared to the UK and London, it's completely different. Something that I really had to embrace when moving to London, and I think I did a really good job second year, was embracing the fact that I can't wear the normal outfits that I normally wear while in London. Look, is it a Scottish mentality because I did get it from my friend Natalia? Maybe. Is it maybe not the best way to go about in life in winter? Maybe. But did I pull through because that is the way that I kept myself really happy during the winter? Yes. I wear short sleeve in the winter. Now, you first hear that and you think you're stupid. I think I'm literally tricking my brain. I bought a puffer. It's like a leather jacket, and it's like really thick, and it has a puffer inside. It saves me. I wear short sleeve and a tank top with that and a scarf. I'm done. I'm good. And gloves. I trick myself, because then when I go inside a restaurant, inside a bar, or inside a club, I'm in short sleeve because there is heating inside, and I'm not thinking, wow, I'm in winter. I'm thinking mentally it's summer in my brain. Mentally it's not that cold outside. But once I step outside, I put on the puffer jacket, the gloves, and the scarf, and I'm like, okay, I'm good though, because it's a really thick puffer jacket. But it's not a puffer jacket because it's a leather jacket. I don't know. It's like, that's how I trick my brain. So that's like a little tip if you really are scared of the cold. But I will say that my friends sometimes think I'm crazy for doing that, but I can see why it looks crazy, but it works for me. But when it comes to that, you just have to be open-minded to the fact that I have to romanticize it. For example, in Boston, I love that there's so much sun. There's been so much sun here, and also there's so much greenery. There's a lot of parks. There's a lot of greenery. There's actually beaches here that I've been to. So it hasn't been that much of a shift or a change. Plus, I'm here in the summer, so it's been really nice. I've actually been sweating going to class, so I don't really need a jacket or anything. But for example, in London, it's sunny. I found this specific routine where I would go running from 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. and that's when the sun will be out, and then at 10 a.m. it would be cloudy and kind of rainy, kind of not in London for the rest of the day. And that was literally every single day for a month. And the way that I romanticized it, and it didn't really get to my mental health or get me feeling down and negative, is because I went on those runs in the morning where I enjoyed the sun. I sat down on the bench after my run and I just took in the sun. I came home and I embraced the fact that it was going to be rainy and cloudy all day, because I would hang out with friends outside. Not outside, sorry. I would hang out with friends at their house, or we would go out for the movies, or we would go out to get coffee and work together at an indoor place, or we would go to uni together and sit down in an area and talk and work. And I think embracing the fact that it's just not the best weather outside and there's nothing I can do about it, and there's just knowing that you have no control over it. is the best part, because I think for a long time the reason why it affected me my first year living in London was because I had this mentality of I could be in Miami, I could be in the Canary Islands, why am I here? Like, I had control over this. But then thinking, no, I chose to be here, I'm here, there's so much to offer in this city, this is just a component of the city, there's nothing that I control about the weather, I'm just gonna embrace it and I'm gonna make the best out of it. And this is just a chance for me to romanticize it. Romanticizing the rain, romanticizing the cold, trust me, it's key to surviving winter. So then when it comes to daily challenges, again, like going to transport, oh wow, okay, so the shift in environment, I was going to talk about this. So when I'm living in Miami, it's very much so, because if there's one thing about Miami, and I think everybody who's been to Miami can tell you this, it's not really a city. Okay, it's basically like multiple suburbs all interconnected by either the I-95 or the US 1 or Oak Cutler. It's just a bunch of highways interconnecting suburbs. You need a car in Miami. Trust me, you need a car. There's really no public transportation. The public transportation that there is will just take you forever too. I mean, you can take it just take you forever because it is literally suburbs. It goes from suburb to suburb. Really pretty. I really recommend going to Miami, but just warning, it's not really a city. Even getting to Miami Beach is like a whole hustle because it's literally an island. A lot of people actually don't know this. I haven't been to Miami. Miami Beach is an island interconnected by like 3 bridges to Miami. It's not the continent of Florida. Anyways, back to the whole point. So there's that. So obviously my lifestyle between London and Miami, completely different. In Miami, my lifestyle was like wake up, go to the beach, come home, have lunch, take a siesta, all sunburnt, and then go to dinner with my friends, and then come home and sleep. And then in London, it's kind of like, one, it's a very big, vibrant city, and everyone's doing something at every point. I actually had a problem with this in Boston because it's more slow life, that I feel this constant anxiousness of I need to be doing more with my time. So in London, I constantly felt like I had to do something. I have to do something because there's someone out there in the city that's doing something. I see all these people going somewhere. I see all these people doing something. It has a very entrepreneurship mindset. So everyone's always doing something, revolving their work or revolving their own personal growth or revolving their own personal brand. Someone's always doing something. So I felt this pressure to always do something in London, which was good and bad. Good because it pushed me so much out of my comfort zone and for me to always be doing something. And I did accomplish so much. And when I was bored, I would just walk to St. Paul's. It's like my favorite area in London. It's beautiful. It was like a 20-minute walk from my apartment last year. So I constantly walk like there to St. Paul's. And if not, I would be going to bookshop and picking up a new book, or I would be going to a cafe and doing even more work, or I would be researching about even more stuff that I want to learn about, or I'll be going to uni, or I'll be going to work events, or something like that. I just had to always be doing something in London. And then there's something about Boston that's so much more slow life. It is a city, but it's a very, very small city compared to London, and it's just not as like intense. There's something that my friend said the other day that goes to Northeastern. We went to have dinner with her, and she was like, and because she lived in London for like 3 months, she was like, in London you always have to be doing something because that's just the hustle, the hustle life there. But then in Boston, I don't feel guilty not doing something because it's so slow. It's a slow life. It's a small city, and it's good for people that don't want to live in the suburbs but don't want to live in a big city. Boston is a perfect city for you because it's not as hectic as a big city, but it's also not as slow as the suburbs. It's a kind of in between where like if I'm more downtown, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get my shit done. Like today I'm doing stuff. But if I'm more in the outskirts, I'm like, I can like relax for a little bit. I don't need to be always doing something. I don't know. It feels more homey. Boston feels more homey. But I feel more at home in a hustle city. I don't know. I'm a big city girl. I've realized that I love big cities, and I like always trying new places and going all out and about. And that is my point with London, that London is huge. You can literally take a tube for 50 minutes and you still be in London, and there's still something more to do. Like from Notting Hill all the way to Greenwich, it's like hour and a half to get to in the tube. From Tower Bridge all the way to Notting Hill, again, it's like 40-50 minutes. To go from Chelsea all the way to Canary Wharf, probably a good hour too. Like it's huge. London is huge, and I love that about it because I can I'm a type of person that's always exploring London because I always love to explore new places. Actually, like my Google Maps right now, it's insane. I have like my new favorite thing right now is pinning my favorite places and cities. So I've been doing that for Boston, and I have it for Madrid, Paris, and London. I haven't done it for Miami. I have actually should do it for Miami, but I have it for London. And my London one is insane. There's just constant, like, there's the clubbing emoji, then there's the cafe emoji, there's the disco emoji, then there's the restaurant emoji, the breakfast emoji. Like, there's just, I have so many pins. I'm gonna try to find a way to share that because I literally have a whole Google Maps planned out of like my favorite places in London for going out, cafes, reading, working, museums, like favorite streets, favorite areas to walk around, favorite vintage markets. Like, I love exploring London because it's endless. So there's that about it. Miami is also pretty big too. Miami also has a lot of opportunities for you to explore, and so does Madrid. But I feel like Boston is much more like closed off. I don't know. Maybe it's just my own personal experience with it. But I also like, there's so much more to explore about Boston I haven't yet. So we'll see how that by the end of my time here, we'll review on that. But yeah, there's that. Now, when it comes to social interactions, we're almost done with my bullet points. But when it comes to social interactions, I want to talk about my own personal experience with making friends abroad. Obviously, when it came to London, I got really lucky that I went for uni. So I made a lot of my friends through uni, and I made a lot of my friends from uni were dating people from other unis, and then that's how I met their friends, and then that's how I made people from out of my own uni. Also, at like clubs or bars or speakeasies, you have to be really going to big city and living abroad. Well, if you already move abroad by yourself, you have this kind of natural instincts, because if you push yourself to go out there, you might as well push yourself to put yourself out there once you get there. Did that sentence even make sense? Okay, what I'm meaning is that if you already put yourself out of your comfort zone to move to a different country, might as well put yourself out of a comfort zone when you go to public places in those countries. For Madrid, I signed up for an Italian class because I knew that I wanted to make my own set of friends when I was in Madrid last summer. And I got really lucky that it was like a small class of 7 girls, all my age, all starting uni in Madrid. Some of them were from Madrid, one was from Barcelona, and that's how I made friends in Madrid, apart from the friends that I made from that came with me going there, that I already had there. And when it comes to London, I got really lucky that I made friends through uni, but also I made a lot of my friends in London by like literally going to my favorite Spanish clubs and talking to people at the Spanish club, and that's how we found out that maybe we had one person in common, or maybe we had something in common, and I would ask for their Instagram or for their phone number. That's how we got to texting around. Being bold enough to go up to someone and start talking to them. I was in a Barcelona game when I was in Barcelona, and I was sitting down next to this girl, and she started talking in an American accent. I just went up to her and I was like, "Where are you from?" And then just started talking, and it was like a whole wholesome moment. So literally being bold enough to go up to someone and ask them, "What's your name? Where are you from?" Obviously, like, if you know that you have something in common, or you feel like a specific open vibe, because some people generally don't want to be bothered. But if you know, you know the vibe when you know the vibe. If you're at a restaurant and you're literally waiting in line or something, and the people in front of you are speaking the same language as you. For example, the other day I was in line to get into a Mexican place in Boston. I was in Cambridge, and then this person right in front of me was speaking in, like, he was from Spain. Like, he wasn't talking about Spain, but he just had a Spanish accent and he was talking Spanish. I was like, "Hey, are you from Spain?" And and that's how the conversation started. So being open-minded, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. That's my warm recommendation for making friends when abroad. Joining classes, either workout classes. I joined Italian classes, maybe learning a new language, new skill. Clay classes. I know friends that made friends through literally like workshops. You can do all of that. I actually made a friend my first month ever in London. I used to go to this Pilates studio, and I made friends with this girl that used to go to Pilates with me every day. You already put yourself in that uncomfortable situation of living in another country or another city. Might as well put yourself in even more of an uncomfortable situation. I will say one of the things that you do have to embrace when moving abroad is loneliness. I already did a whole episode on this, but you have to embrace the fact that you are going to be lonely at the beginning, because you're not going to be around people who are your family. You're not going to be around people who are maybe the same, not vibe, but maybe the same as the people that you were friends with when back home. That they're going to be different in certain ways, but you have to embrace that. You have to embrace that people are different. People do grow differently, and everybody comes from different backgrounds. And my friends in London are completely different from my friends in Miami, the way they act, the way they were grown up, the way they talk, the way they dress. One, because I think the episode's already really long, but one thing that I want to add upon for like my last little comment on this episode is that sometimes I do feel guilty that I'm kind of losing or like missing out in Miami, because I come home and all these people that go to college, all my friends from the same high school, they either went to the same college or they go to a similar area or they just stayed in state, and obviously they kept I can't talk. Obviously they kept in close contact. I mean, I text friends from my back in Miami and back in Spain like all the time. Like I text them twice a week minimum, and I call them all the time, and I try to keep them updated, and it's not like I haven't shut down my friends from back home, but it definitely feels like sometimes I'm missing out in terms of, obviously if you're not there physically, you can't have a strong bond with someone or as strong as if you were there physically. So sometimes I come home from winter break and I feel kind of guilty that I left. But then I have to realize that I'm not really missing out on anything, because me being in London is an opportunity for me to grow and an opportunity for me to see something new. And it's just where it's where I'm meant to be at the moment. And I can always come back to Miami, and I can always reconnect with these people in winter break and reconnect with all these people during the summer or whenever I do come back home. But that doesn't mean that I'm not having so much positives out of being abroad. Plus, it's an opportunity for my friends to come visit me and for them to try something new. I have friends coming to visit me in Boston. I have so many friends that came to visit me in London, and they enjoyed it, they loved it, and they want to come back, and they got so much out of it, and I got so much out of it. So embracing how you and your friends can make the most out of the situation is what I would say. But yeah, so that is today's episode. I know it's a lot, definitely very intense. I'm falling asleep. It's sunset time. If you're watching this in visual, you definitely can see that it's sunset time. I'm like exhausted. It's been such a long day. I went biking, running, Stairmasters. I did strength training. I went to computer science class. I did so much work, and I had to do so much work still. But yeah, I hope you had a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace out.